In Asia, China is one of the largest countries in continent. Also, it is one of the most powerful countries. There are more environmental elements in China which affects different deltas of Asia. More importantly, China, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam are connected and dependent on each other by the stream of their third largest river called Mekong River. As a powerful and rich country, China mainly takes over the river and makes decision on different construction on the river based on their economic and environmental needs. Some of the decisions that China is making is very reckless that other people are saying. China is up to kill its third largest river. Nearly 5,000 kilometers long, the Mekong River is one of Asia's most important transboundary waterways. As well as providing water to people in China's southern highlands, the Mekong helps sustain some 60 million people downstream in Southeast Asia, where the river is a vital component of production, agriculture and economic development. In recent years, however, the Mekong has become the focus of controversy, pitting China against a coalition of downstream states that include Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Lower Mekong countries argue that Beijing's construction of several dams on the upper Mekong deprives them of essential water resources, reducing both the quality and quantity of water that passes through China's gates and dams. However, China, aware of its soaring domestic energy demand, continues its campaign to exploit the hydroelectric potential of the upper Mekong River and its tributaries. This is causing shaky relation between Beijing and Southeast Asia. There are some vital reasons that shows why China is causing this devastation. According to the International Energy Agency, China is doing all these because of China's hand on the faucet. China's total energy demand just recently passed the United States and is expected to continue to increase in the near term, by 75% over the next 25 years. As a result, Beijing seeks to increase its energy security by wanting to develop energy resources in Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East, as well as along the Mekong River and in the East and South China Seas. The dramatic difference in river levels makes it an abundant source of energy. 15 large-scale dams have been completed or are under construction on the upper Mekong in Tibet and Yunnan. These dams also provide China with enormous geopolitical leverage over downstream countries. With just one shortcut, the Chinese government can dramatically reduce the flow of water into the lower Mekong. This would of course lead to an act of war, as the depletion of flows in the lower Mekong would impede crop irrigation, affect food security and endanger the health of the people. The region's economically important freshwater fishery is one of the largest in the world. Productivity. China's dams essentially give Beijing de facto control over water security in Southeast Asia. Why Mekong River is important to Southeast Asia's countries. The Greater Mekong region contains irreplaceable wealth, from rare wildlife and breathtaking natural landscapes to communities with distinct cultural heritages. The vast area covers 6 countries: China, Myanmar, Laos PDR, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Its 200 million acres, the combined area of Texas and Arkansas, contain some of the most biologically diverse habitats in the world. These countries are also known as the Rice Bowl of Asia, and its center is the Mekong River. Stretching nearly 3,000 miles from the Tibetan Plateau to the South China Sea, the Mekong River is home to the world's largest inland fishery. It accounts for 25% of the world's freshwater consumption and provides livelihoods for tens of millions of people. It is second only to the Amazon River in fish biodiversity. At least 1,200 species of freshwater swim in the waters of this mighty river, including the last surviving populations of the Irrawaddy dolphin, the giant freshwater stingray that can weigh up to 1,300 pounds, and Mekong's giant catfish. The Greater Mekong is one of the most vulnerable places on Earth to the effects of climate change, which includes both existing and projected threats. It has an impact on the area's population, biodiversity, and natural resources with cascade effects. For example, water scarcity reduces agricultural productivity, leading to food shortages, unemployment, and poverty. Across the region, temperatures have risen and continue to rise. Rising sea levels threaten coastal communities in the region. The degradation of ecosystems due to climate change will reduce their productivity and ability to provide livelihoods to the people of the Greater Mekong region. Let's see how these dams can affect the downstream. As the main living of the people of Asia is agriculture. Countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos solely depends on the water flow of Mekong River. The river is very important for their living and economy. However, due to China's compulsive decision of constructing dams on the upstream, it is affecting the downstream people badly. Many people have been complaining how they have been suffering for these dams. According to Thai fishermen, fish stocks have declined and nutrient-rich soils in the Vietnamese delta are collapsing as alluvial flows decrease. Conservationists say the river is only comparable to the Amazon in terms of biodiversity, but now endemic species such as giant catfish and river dolphins are threatened with extinction. Not that only, economy is falling behind of these downstream countries. Also, the environmental problems are increasing day by day. The water level in Southeast Asia's largest river could drop to its lowest level in a century. Low rainfall, high temperatures, and poor dam regulation are contributing to historic lows on the Mekong River, affecting livelihoods, agriculture and fishing industries in the region, and rapidly depleting. The lower Mekong River is entering its fourth drought year with low rainfall, climate change, and hydroelectric dams causing the worst conditions along Southeast Asia's largest waterway in more than 60 years, threatening livelihoods of up to 70 million people. Many places river has dried up so badly that people cannot even do the irrigation for their crops. However, it seems China does not really care about the downstream. They are so blind about developing the hydropower energy that they still processing with more dams on the upstream basin of Mekong River. Since the 1990s, China has started building dams. 15 dams are currently operating on the mainstream of the Lancang River, a 12th dam is under construction and a 13th dam is being planned. The dams affect fish migration and prevent many tons of sediment from flowing downstream, which is needed to move nutrients in the soil, fight erosion, and keep salt water out of the delta. Perhaps most importantly, the Lancang dams have reservoirs capable of holding trillions of gallons of water, transforming the lower Mekong basin in noticeable ways. Moreover, due to constructing those, China is cutting down all the trees and destroying forests, which is resulting in the massive climate change and wildlife crisis. But does China give a look on this? Thaitanay Pongsadhirak said Chinese dam authorities will divert water but increase it ahead of events with Southeast Asian officials to present a good image. It is clear that the Chinese are using the dams as political leverage. This means, they increase the amount of wastewater and then they discharge the water when they want to improve relations with downstream countries. Of course, they do not do this in the low season, which is the dry season, the most difficult time for downstream countries. As the relation between these countries is political, Cambodia, like other lower Mekong countries, does not openly oppose China over the river's flows. These countries lack the ability to negotiate with China, which has the largest economy and military in the region. Poorer Cambodia and Laos rely heavily on China for aid and infrastructure investment. On the other hand, Vietnam has a long-term rivalry against China. They wanted to fight against China to release the water, however, in current time Vietnam is losing its hope to keep on the fighting. After knowing all these devastations, China continues to build dams along the upper Mekong and its tributaries, and in this trend, Laos is trying to cope up with China. Although a monitoring organization, of the 4 lower Mekong countries, the Mekong River Commission, are now looking forward to the United States and other countries to help them fight China. Though having so much reports on this event, China keeps denying the fact that China is exacerbating one of Southeast Asia's worst droughts. Not only that, China also has a long-term plan to create special economic zones on both sides of the Mekong, including residential areas, ports and rail and road connections. The upside is that it will facilitate trade between the Mekong countries and make the Golden Triangle, where Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand meet, a very productive place for trade. The danger of such an arrangement is that environmental costs will be lost in the redesign process. A series of large dams will fundamentally alter the hydrology of the Mekong River, possibly leading to the degradation of sensitive river ecosystems, disrupting upstream migration routes of fish species. The predominant role is local and the decline of freshwater fisheries that make up the backbone. Local economy. With lasting effects on food security, environment, and economy in the lower Mekong heartland, Beijing's attempt to ease water stress with a new round of dam construction could be harmful more than benefits. Unfortunately, with China and the MRC countries currently viewing the dam proposals as mutually beneficial, planning and construction is expected to be underway for the next several years.